Hey everyone, Gary Simon of Corsetro. So today I'm going to revisit a topic. This is a tutorial I did, I don't know, 3-4 years ago in Photoshop. But this time we're going to revisit it and we're going to do an isometric illustration / icon tutorial here using Adobe Illustrator CC. So this is sort of a common trend I'm seeing, whether you want to do isometric icons, those have been around forever. But when it comes to landing pages, I've seen quite frequently, rather recently, isometric illustrations being used on like the hero section at the top of landing pages, and they look really cool. So I'm going to show you exactly how to set up an isometric grid and then use it to create this illustration right here from scratch. Make sure you subscribe here on YouTube if you haven't yet, and check out corsetro.com. All right, let's get started. All right, so to get started, we're here in Adobe Illustrator, and with the new document panel up, we're just going to put 1000 by 700 points, and we'll hit create. All right, so the first thing is to get the actual isometric grid created, and there's different ways of doing this. We're just going to use, I found this method which works pretty well, and really once you do this, it's just three or four steps. Once you do this, you can save it as a template, you know, and reuse it so you don't have to go through these steps again. So we're going to left click drag out from, by default it's usually showing the line segment, just left click drag and choose the rectangular grid tool, left click once, and the default size for the width and height will be 200 points, with horizontal dividers at 20 and vertical dividers at 20 as well, and then hit OK. All right, so now if we look at this, we have to right click it and choose transform and then scale. And when we do this, we want to make sure it's at non-uniform instead of uniform, which would just scale both the horizontal and vertical. Non-uniform allows us to specify a value of 86.602% for vertical only, and then hit OK. And it's going to just slightly flatten it. And then we're going to right click, transform, and this time we're going to choose shear at 30 degrees. All right, here in this angle, and make sure this stuff matches as well. And then you can hit preview to see it like that. And then we're going to finally right click, transform, and then we'll choose rotate at -30 degrees. So if you have preview enabled, this is what the asymmetric grid should look like. All right, so one final step, if you want to convert it over to guides, you go to view and then guides and then make guides. And then now you have your guides that you can work with. All right, so fairly straightforward and simple. If you want to back up to make this a little bit larger, you can, or you could have just made it larger from the get-go, but this will be fine right here. We're dealing with vector anyhow. So view, we'll choose guides and make guides now. All right, so now going forward, I'm going to go ahead and lock our guides so that we're not moving them around by accident. Now notice hide guides right here. This will make it so that this shortcut, we're going to be using this. So control and the semicolon will hide that for us. So we've locked the guides so we can't move them at all, but we can still use them as a reference point from which we can now create some sort of icon or isometric illustration. So just to show you how we're going to do this, I'll just assume we want to create maybe like a cell phone laying down in this isometric perspective. All right, so what I'll do is we're going to zoom up here quite a bit. And we'll take the pen tool and we'll just choose any of these points randomly. All right, so I'm just going to roughly come out to create the shape of a cell phone, maybe like this. Obviously a modern smartphone. Maybe come down about 4 of these grids and just go ahead and make them a completely closed path right here at this point. So at this point, remember, we can toggle on and off the grid there just so we can see this. Now, obviously, modern smartphones, they have rounded corners, and we can see if we click this, if we hold Control, we can now bring these corners in. Probably don't want to do it too much. but right around there looks good to me. All right, so now, actually it does kind of look a little bit messed up because these corners right here they should be bigger if anything. What we'll do instead is I have this script installed, and I'll show you in a second where you can get it. If you go to File, Scripts, after you do this, we can choose Round Any Corner. All right, and that's going to show up on the other side, of course. And so if you hit Preview, now these are better rounded corners. And so where did I get that? Let me real quickly bring up this page right here. So if you go to shspage.com/AIJS/EN, you'll see this script here that you can download, and it has instructions on how to install it. You'll have to just place it in a scripts folder and then reload your Adobe Illustrator. I know, kind of a pain in the butt, but still, it's a better result anyhow. Okay, so let's bring back the grid here, and let's go ahead and make this let's get rid of the stroke, and then we'll click on Fill, and we'll give it a fill color. All right, actually we'll make this one a little bit darker. Now, we want to make it appear as though it actually has some depth, so it needs to come off, and we'll go ahead and create Control-C, Control-F. This will create a duplicate. As you can see, we have our two paths. Now just left click, hold Shift, and drag it upwards. And Shift will make sure it stays on that Y axis as we're dragging up. I mean, you can go up to the next grid line if you want, although you don't necessarily have to, but it may make life a little bit easier. So we'll just do that. All right, so now let's go ahead and hide with Control semicolon. And I want to make this just a different color just for now. Just so we can see the difference here. And I want to fill these edges so it actually looks like it's a solid rectangular object of sorts. So we'll take the pen tool and use your guides to try to help you. And we'll left click right there on the very edge, and then left click right there. And we'll just come down here randomly. It doesn't really matter where we're going at this point, just so we have these edges matched up right there. Hold Shift and right there. So now we're going to go ahead and close this path off, and we're going to make sure it's selected. And then, as we can see, the new path right there is selected. Make sure, yeah, there we go. I'm not used to being in the view right now, here stuck in the corner, so I want to make sure I'm pointing in the right direction. So we'll take the very first bottom path along with this top path that we just created, and we'll go to Window Pathfinder. So Window Pathfinder, we'll get out this little dialog up here. Yeah, there we go. And we're going to merge those. We're going to unite this into a single shape. Now when we do that, it's going to drag everything to the top, so we're going to push it back down beneath that path right here. And then we can go ahead and change the fill to like a darker, and there we go. All right, it's kind of a thick, bulky looking phone right here. We could actually adjust this later on if we wanted to make it less thick like that. So now what we can do is create maybe an actual screen inlay portion. So what we'll do is Control-C, Control-F, and then I'll take this and I'll hold Shift and Alt while left-clicking and dragging in. All right, and we can create I'll make a different color here for this screen, something that really sticks out. And then I'm going to move it up right around there. So now we kind of have a space for, I don't know, an old school style iOS phone circle or something else. Yeah, we don't want to move it up like that. Yeah, that's good. And so now, let's say, for instance, we wanted to put some sort of kind of not a circle, but the process would be the same if we did this. Maybe something instead like we'll put a horizontal, kind of like a rounded rectangle right there. So to do that, we'll go ahead and take the rounded rectangle tool. And what we can do is just left click and drag out maybe a size like right around there. And you could adjust the corner radiuses here if you want to. And let me real quickly, by the way, someone's messaged me. I'm going to, there we go, take down my volume. So now what we can do is we can repeat that same process from before where we constructed that grid. And so what we could do is right click, transform, and the first step I believe is shear. Now let's preview this and make sure we're going to shear this in the correct direction, and that is correct. So it's 30 degrees horizontal. We'll hit OK, and then right click, transform, and then rotate it. And there we go, negative 30 degrees, hit OK. Now it's in the exact correct perspective that it needs to be in. Now it looks a little silly being this color, although it's kind of subjective. We'll make it a lighter color. So we'll just take this, push this this one up a little bit. Yeah, right around there is fine. Or you could just make it white and take the opacity down. No big deal. All right, and so you could repeat this process for the sides. So like say for instance, you wanted to show, like where the connector, the power source would go, or like the on and off buttons or whatever. We could do that doing the same process. So real quickly, let's go ahead and we'll just do that one more time. Maybe a thicker area right here. Oops, and go back. Now this time it's going to require us to make a couple more changes though. Or to the actual property. So if we right click and we go to shear, if we choose vertical, there you go. Now it will work for faces that are kind of going up instead of laying flat. So on a different plane essentially. All right. Is it just me or does that look slightly off? I want to make sure that, no, that looks good. All right, so now this one maybe we'll make darker. Yeah, I believe we don't have to do the whole rotate thing because it's already been applied to it. I still, it just looks funky to me. Maybe it's just me though. All right, so then, of course, if you wanted to do this on the other side, we could, let's see if we could Control C, Control F, and then reflect, which that's showing up on the other side, of course. There we go. Hit OK. And then place something up there. Although it might look a little bit silly if it's the exact same size. I'll just scale this down and put it right there. All right. So now hopefully now you understand about, changing the orientations and trying to get things in the correct perspective the way they should be. So now it's just a matter, to spice this up more of just experimenting and having fun with it and understanding the tools in Illustrator to do so. So let's say, for instance, that we kind of wanted to have like this screen right here kind of coming off, having like a secondary screen. So if we hit Control C, Control F, we'll create a duplicate, drag this up, holding Shift. Now we can go ahead and take our fill. We'll get rid of the fill and we'll give it a stroke this time. And the stroke, for now, let's just make it, blue. All right, so now it looks like this kind of screen's coming up off top of it. And let's make a kind of like a screen reflection sort of deal here. So what I'll do is take this path, Control C, Control F. I'm going to hide the original. So I hit it right there. And let's get rid of a fill or the stroke and give it a fill of white, or actually any color right now. That'll be fine right there. And then a way we can do a reflection sort of technique is we'll take the rectangle tool, and these are going to be the actual reflections. So we'll do one here. You can make them of varying sizes. and maybe one here. And then we'll take all of those, holding Shift and left clicking, and then we're going to, with the Pathfinder, choose Unite. And then choose this one right here, holding Shift. So we have all these selected, and then we can choose minus front. Now we can make this white. Look at that. Looks pretty good already. And then bring back this original path. So now let's say, for instance, that we wanted to make it so that this path is white on the inside and then blue on the out. Well, a real quick way of doing that is, let's see here, make sure I'm selecting the right elements here. So we'll go ahead and copy this or create a duplicate, Control C, Control F. We'll take this one right here and drag it down to the bottom. All right, so this one's going to be blue, and then the top one will be white. So we'll change the stroke to white. And then the blue one, select it down here, we'll just use our keyboard down arrow key slightly, maybe by just one pixel. All right, so let's also make this real quickly. We'll take the opacity down of the actual glare right there. All right, so that looks pretty good. We can also take, for instance, this glare. We'll replicate it, and we'll pull it down right on top of the original screen. Something like that. And then let's take down the opacity big time. I mean, this is stuff that you don't have to do. I'm just kind of experimenting to trying to make it look more interesting. All right, so far it's looking pretty good. To make edges stand out more, here's one such technique. So we can take this original screen path right here, Control C, Control F, and we'll move it up with the keyboard arrow key, maybe just once. All right, and then we'll go ahead and select both of them. And with the Pathfinder, we'll go ahead and choose Divide. All right, so it creates a group, and it creates just divides where the paths overlap. So I want to take this one. Well, actually, maybe I'll leave it for now to experiment with the colors. But what I want to do is take, let's see, we'll take the, yeah, maybe we'll do this. Okay, so what I'll do, I'm just kind of thinking on the spot here. What we'll do is, I'm going to take this, right-click, and ungroup, so that we have access to these edges specifically. And then I'm going to take this phone glare one right here, and then I will attempt, we'll see if it works, to minus front. There we go. So now, these edges right here, let's make those white. So it really kind of just makes it appear as though there's an edge there on the side. And you can experiment with different colors, maybe go in a darker blue or a lighter blue, maybe so it doesn't stand out as much. We can try that. Actually kind of like that. And then this one up here, maybe to create an inlay effect, we can make a darker blue. Again, it may not even work. That's actually pretty cool looking. All right, so as you can see, there's a bunch of stuff that you can do to really make things detailed. All right, so we can do that same process over here. Bring down the opacity a lot. Maybe bring it up just a tad bit more. And there we go. All right, really cool. So now, again, we still have our grid that we can use, and you can add to this even further if you wish. And of course, if you wanted more like a smaller grid, you would have added more of those divisions from the very beginning. So let's hide that. So now what we can do, if you take this and you go to transform up here, you want to make sure scale, strokes, and effects is selected. And then with that, you can scale this up however you need it. And let's take a big look at our custom sort of isometric icon. Now what's cool is, you can take this now and you can export it as an SVG or a PNG or whatever, and then import it into whichever app that you use for your UI designs. For me, I'm not going to do that at this point, but I just wanted to show, like, there's a common practice or a bit of a trend that I've been seeing lately when it comes to web design. So I'm going to real quickly just show you how cool this is, or how cool this sort of graphic, this isometric graphic will work in the context of like a landing page or hero section, for instance. So scale that up a good amount right there. I'm going to take everything and just group it, by the way. And then we'll take the artboard tool, simulate kind of like a longer style page, like we're sitting in a browser, for instance. And then let's get back our grid real quick. And I'm going to go to View and Guides, Unlock Guides. So let's select this guide right here. We can right-click, transform, and scale it. And then make sure it's uniform. We'll go up to about 300%. All right. And then we'll use the pen tool to kind of create just a, well, let's see here. I think we'll start here, like a background for this. Perhaps we'll start right there. Okay. And then we'll come down maybe right here, and then right here, hold shift, left, right here, and then just we're making our way around. All right. Control semicolon to get rid of the guides, and then what we can do is get rid of the stroke, get our path, or a fill rather. We'll make it the same color. Drag it to the very bottom. All right, and then we can just kind of real quickly build out a simple user interface or web layout here. Montserrat font. It's a free font. You can download it, and I use it everywhere almost. We'll do bold. There we go. Normally, I would not be doing UI design in any type of in Adobe Illustrator, but this is just for the fun of it. And then we'll take this, scale this. Well, let's change the color first, maybe to like a mid-gray. We'll take the size down to, yep, right around there. Some real quick fictional links. Services. Old school way of doing it before the advent of stuff like Sketch and Adobe XD. Just put your spaces in there and copy them. About us, and then maybe contact. All right. Don't worry. I know this really doesn't have much to do with isometric design, but I kind of just wanted to get something up here. All right, and so you can see it looks pretty cool here. And then we could put, for instance, I'm sorry, I'm having too much fun with this. There, awesome headline. Maybe a little bit of lorem ipsum text here. Automatically generated for us. How about that? Take this down to regular, maybe. And then maybe the opacity will come down slightly, around 70%. Take this up. Bam, and you kind of have yourself a very rough web UI with your new snazzy looking isometric illustration or icon or whatever you want to call it. So what's cool is we can also take this, copy it, right click, transform, reflect, and it works as an isometric icon in either way, in either position, naturally. All right, guys, hopefully you enjoyed that. If you did or didn't, go ahead and leave a comment. Let me know what you think and subscribe here, and I'll see you guys real soon with a new tutorial. All right, goodbye.